15 Best Books Recommended by Steve Jobs, 2024. Few company founders are more iconic than the late Steve Jobs. The celebrity founder of Apple was known for innovative thinking, intense competition, and not bending to anyone. His reading habits most likely had an impact on this drive to innovate and challenge the status quo. In this video, we present to you 15 of Jobs' favorite books that influenced his views on technology, business, and even personal development. These aren't your usual CEO reads. In fact, they may surprise you, as they did him. Let's get started. The number one book on our list is Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. Autobiography of a Yogi is a book written by Paramahansa Yogananda, an Indian yogi and guru, first published in 1946. It's a story about his own life journey, from his childhood in India to his spiritual quest that led him to become a renowned spiritual teacher in the West. The book discusses his experiences as a monk, his encounters with other saints and holy figures, and ultimately, his mission to bring yoga and meditation teachings to the West. Yogananda established the Self-Realization Fellowship in America, becoming a pioneer in introducing Eastern spiritual practices to a Western audience. Jobs famously read Autobiography of a Yogi for the first time as a teenager, and then it became his annual read. Considering he believed it was one of the most important books he had ever read, he set up arrangements for copies to be given to each person who attended his memorial ceremony. Number 2. The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen. The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen is all about why big, successful companies often fail when faced with new, disruptive technologies. It talks about how these companies get too comfortable with their current ways of doing things and miss out on opportunities for innovation. Steve Jobs was one of Christensen's biggest supporters. An article from the Harvard Business School claims that Jobs championed the book and gave copies to every member of his executive team. We can clearly see that this book was likely a key factor in Apple's own success. By understanding disruptive innovation principles as described in the book, Apple managed to avoid the trap, famously innovating the iPhone and iPad, even though the company was already well established. This book is a must-read for anyone interested in business and innovation, especially managers of established companies. It offers valuable insights into how to recognize disruptive threats and adapt before it's too late. Number 3. The Way of the White Clouds by Lama Anagarika Govinda, a Buddhist monk who traveled through the Himalayas in search of spiritual wisdom. In this book, Lama Govinda shares his experiences and insights gained during his journeys through Tibet, meeting with various spiritual masters, and delving into the depths of Tibetan Buddhism. Jobs was famously known for his interest in Eastern spirituality and meditation practices, which he believed could inspire creativity, innovation, and personal growth. And that's why he recommended this book at many moments. This book is a perfect guide to living a more mindful and fulfilling life. It teaches us to appreciate the beauty of simplicity, to embrace curiosity and exploration, and to find inspiration in the world around us. Number 4. Meetings with Remarkable Men by George Ivanovich Gurdjieff. Meetings with Remarkable Men is about the life journey of George Ivanovich Gurdjieff and his encounters with extraordinary people. Gurdjieff was a mystic, philosopher, and spiritual teacher. He traveled through remote regions of Central Asia, seeking wisdom and understanding. The book is like a travel diary, recounting Gurdjieff's meetings with individuals who possessed profound knowledge and insight. These people were remarkable, not just for their intelligence or skills, but also for their deep understanding of life and the universe. According to Jobs' biographer, Walter Isaacson, he was fascinated by Gurdjieff's ideas on self-awareness and achieving one's full potential. He found inspiration in the experiences of others who went on similar spiritual journeys. Number 5. Only the Paranoid Survive by Andrew S. Grove. In Only the Paranoid Survive, Andy Grove, former CEO of Intel, shares his secrets for business success in a fast-paced world. Grove argues that companies and even individuals need to constantly be on the lookout for threats and opportunities. He calls these critical moments strategic inflection points. These can be anything from new competition to technological advancements that could disrupt your entire industry. According to a 1997 interview with Fortune magazine, Source: Fortune magazine interview with Steve Jobs, 1997. Jobs said, "I always read this book when I'm about to make a major product introduction. It helps me think about all the potential things that could go wrong. This book is a great fit for anyone in business, especially leaders and those facing big decisions." By recognizing and adapting to these turning points, Grove argues businesses can not only survive, but thrive. Number 6. 1984 by George Orwell. 1984 is a famous novel written by George Orwell. It's set in a dystopian future where a powerful government, led by a figure known as Big Brother, controls every aspect of people's lives. The story follows Winston Smith, who works for the government but secretly rebels against its oppressive rule. He starts a forbidden love affair with Julia, another dissenter, and together they seek to challenge the system. In his biography, Walter Isaacson mentions that Steve Jobs believed everyone in business should read 1984 by George Orwell. Plus, the fun fact is that the book inspired the famous Apple 1984 Super Bowl commercial that pre-announced the Macintosh. Overall, 1984 is a thought-provoking novel that explores themes of power, control, and rebellion. Truth be told, I love the idea of this book, and I'm definitely going to read it soon. What do you think about this one? Worth a read or not? If you are loving our content so far, then please take a moment to hit the like button, and maybe you will get an apple. Now, let's move on to the 7th book that Steve Jobs recommended. The Tao of Programming by Jeffrey James. This book teaches about programming through ancient Taoist philosophy. Written by Jeffrey James, it presents programming principles in a poetic and philosophical way, drawing links between the art of coding and the teachings of Taoism. Jobs, who was known for his appreciation of both technology and the arts, saw programming as a blend of the two. This book resonated with him because it emphasizes the importance of simplicity, patience, and intuition in programming, which are qualities he valued highly in both design and innovation. If you're a programmer, or want to be one, looking for an entertaining approach to core principles, The Tao of Programming is a delightful read. Number 8. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shunryu Suzuki. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind is a book written by Shunryu Suzuki, a Japanese Zen master. It's all about exploring the essence of Zen Buddhism and its teachings. The book emphasizes the importance of having a beginner's mind, which means approaching life with openness, curiosity, and a lack of preconceptions. Instead of relying on what we already know, it encourages us to cultivate a fresh perspective, like that of a beginner. Its simple yet profound teachings have resonated with many readers who found inspiration in its pages for both personal and professional growth. Number 9. The Poems of Dylan Thomas by Dylan Thomas. This book is a collection of poems written by the Welsh poet Dylan Thomas. It brings together a variety of Thomas's works, showcasing his unique style and powerful use of language. Thomas's poetry is known for its vivid imagery, rich symbolism, and emotional depth, exploring themes such as love, death, nature, and the passage of time. Jobs was well known for his love of literature and the arts, and for his belief that exposure to a variety of forms of art may improve a person's capacity for critical thought and problem-solving. Walter Isaacson, in his biography, reports Jobs as saying, "I believe Thomas to be a genius. His knowledge of words is simply amazing." Anyone who appreciates poetry should read this book, especially if they're curious about the vastness of human emotion and the expressive value of words. Number 10. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. This well-known book recounts Ishmael's thrilling voyage and whale hunting expedition on the Pequod, a whaling ship under the command of the enigmatic Captain Ahab. Ahab has become fixated on finding and killing the enormous white whale known as Moby Dick after suffering serious injuries from him. The novel is full of realistic representations of the hazards sailors confront while hunting their prey, as well as life at sea and how they get along. It focuses on issues of destiny, obsession, and the conflict between nature and humanity. While it might seem like an unusual choice for Steve Jobs' reading list, you can feel the similarities between Jobs and the character Captain Ahab. With Captain Ahab, Jobs followed a strategy of experience learning, rather than sticking to institutions. Number 11. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged is a long but famous novel that tells a dramatic story with a big philosophical question. The story follows Dagny Taggart, who runs a failing railroad company, and Hank Rearden, a brilliant steel magnate. The world around them seems to be falling apart. Businesses are failing, and the government keeps making things worse with new regulations. But then, successful people like Dagny and Hank start disappearing mysteriously. The mystery is, who is John Galt? This question becomes a puzzle that drives the entire story. Atlas Shrugged is a complex book, but it's a good choice for readers who like thought-provoking stories and don't mind challenges. It might be especially interesting for people who are curious about business and economics. Number 12. Be Here Now by Baba Ram Dass. Be Here Now is a book written by Baba Ram Dass, a spiritual teacher and former Harvard psychologist. It was first published in 1971. The book is about finding inner peace, happiness, and spiritual awakening through mindfulness and meditation. It's divided into 3 sections: Journey, From Bindu to Ohas, and Cookbook for a Sacred Life. In the book, Ram Dass shares his personal journey from being a Harvard professor to becoming a spiritual seeker in India. He discusses various spiritual practices and philosophies, including yoga, meditation, and the teachings of Hinduism and Buddhism. Isaacson writes in the biography of Job that Be Here Now was one of the most profound texts on spirituality and enlightenment in his life. He says the book transformed Jobs and many of his friends. Number 13. Diet for a Small Planet by Francis Moore Lapp. This book was such a great inspiration for Steve Jobs that he became a vegetarian after reading it. Jobs himself credits Diet for a Small Planet as the book that finally convinced him to cut off meat pretty much for good. Published in 1971 by Francis Moore Lapp, it is a groundbreaking book that challenges how we view food and its impact on the world. It became a bestseller for its thought-provoking ideas. Lapp contends that how we distribute and consume food, not a lack of it, is what causes world hunger. Raising animals for meat uses a lot of resources like water and grain, which could be used to feed more people directly. She explains that by eating more plant-based foods like fruits, vegetables, and grains, we can use fewer resources and still get all the nutrients we need. Diet for a Small Planet promotes the idea of making choices that are good for both ourselves and the planet. Number 14. Inside the Tornado by Jeffrey A. Moore. In his book, Inside the Tornado, marketing guru Jeffrey A. Moore tackles a question that excites and terrifies businesses: hypergrowth. Imagine a new technology taking off like a tornado, creating a market with explosive sales. Moore argues that companies can learn to ride the tornado and become leaders in these fast-changing markets. In a 1995 interview, Jobs said, "Inside the Tornado explains why some technologies succeed and others fail. We can already see it through iPhone's success, as Apple's product release cycle is closely tied to Jeffrey Moore's theory of early adopters as key to a technology's eventual success." Source: Walter Isaacson, Biography of Steve Jobs. And the last one, book number 15, is Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism by Chogyam Trungpa. Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism talks about how sometimes people can get caught up in what Trungpa calls spiritual materialism. This means they start using spirituality as a way to boost their ego or feel superior to others. Instead of truly seeking enlightenment or inner peace, they end up chasing after accomplishments or status symbols in the spiritual world. Trungpa's book provides valuable insights into how to avoid falling into these traps and instead focus on genuine spiritual growth. It's a great book for anyone interested in a deeper look at their motivations for seeking spiritual growth. And before we wrap up, do consider these words from Steve Jobs himself. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Watch our next video for the best books recommended by famous billionaires.